962 days since Richard vanished from the barracks there at Fort Bliss in El Paso, Texas. And so a lot has been happening. I'm losing my voice because I've been talking so much. We're doing a lot of things behind the scenes, and we've never stopped since we found out that Richard was missing. When my husband called Captain Yoshida, and Yoshida was crying um, because they knew all the dirt going on there at Fort Bliss. They knew, y'all. And we were told not to say that they know, but they know. They would be total idiots if they didn't know. Um, and of course, the military never contacted us. So, and even defector, this defector to Russia, this young man who was trained there at Fort Bliss, um, served there from 2015 through 2017, 2 years and 1 month. Very interesting. What he, what his whole interview on RT declared. And if only 10% of it is right, we're in big trouble, right? Number one, I think he's more right than just 10%. And what he said about Fort Bliss is when he got there, he was 18 years old at the time. It was just all drinking, 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 whores, and prostitutes, and all kinds of drugs. And one soldier there was the distributor for the entire installation with bricks of cocaine in his room. I mean, with bricks of cocaine, you can use that as a nightstand, put your coffee there, coffee mug. Yeah, you probably had a spout for it. I don't know. I don't know how they distribute it. But the boldness of what's going on to turn our installations to marketplaces for illegal drugs, marketplaces for even more than that, because he's mentioning all kinds of all kinds of criminal activity um, to Russia Today. I guess that's the news agency, um, and it's very interesting to hear everything that he has to say. Now we have to weigh it. He is a defector, but his his betrayal is like catching someone taking a cookie out of a cookie jar compared to the betrayal of our 44 four-star generals and admirals. Um, and you could say, oh, what about Washington D.C.? Wait a minute, my senator does not have the full power of our military behind him. He, you know, um, and this is the thing: the 44 four-star generals, we've given them everything. They have the full force, weapons, submarines, stealth bombers, fleets, uh, aircraft carriers. That's a word I I don't know. My mind didn't want to get yesterday. Aircraft carriers, where that young sailor waited until everybody was on the deck of the aircraft carrier and walked right into the rear propellers of a helicopter to commit suicide in front of everybody. In front of everybody. Um, yeah, you really have to have a disdain for the bullies. At that point, being the 44 four-star generals and admirals, that's just a little bit of their crime. The crimes against humanity, turning our installations into grooming centers for sex cults, marketplaces for illegal drugs, open market, open market lies, leaks, all kinds of leaks. We just turned in, I think it's been maybe a week now, if that, um, the proof of leaks, which is, and I posted it up. It got taken down on TikTok, but you can find it everywhere. You can go on Twitter. I posted it up on there. Um, and the thing is the CID case number that we have and the FBI case number that we have. Okay, that's not ours. Okay, because we don't even have ours. All right, it's just not something that the CID and the FBI give out. They just don't give that out. Um, so to have those numbers means there's a leak, right? And that means that you have connections. That Leilani Hart had a connection within the CID in order to get the leaks. And so that connection was CID Special Agent Tavita Nusa, and she wanted files, and she wanted Richard's file. So there were, I think there is more evidence to the child porn and the child trafficking. That's why there's more than one file. Richard was just one of many files to this investigation into child pornography production, sales, and distribution there on Fort Bliss. Because don't forget, Leilani Hart was active duty. Okay, Leilani Hart was active duty. Um, she has 15 years in the service, I think. And of course, her son, First Lieutenant Dallas Hart, was active duty, right? And of course, so was CID Special Agent Tavita Nusa. He was active duty. And all under the same, well, not the CID, but Leilani Hart and Dallas Hart were under the same command as Richard. Major General Clem Coward and Command Sergeant Major Jones, Command Sergeant Major Jake Jakovitz. Um, and we know that Jake was up to no good because he told us they brought in girls. They, meaning, you know, a green light from Major General Clem Coward, brought in girls for parties during the COVID lockdown. We also know from Brigadier General David Stewart, who took the place of Major General Clem Coward, that the barracks there were flush with weapons. That's a no-no, y'all. Um, Thank you. The bell tolls on that one. That's a no-no. All weapons need to be kept in the armory. You know, that very place where Vanessa Guillen at Fort Hood was bludgeoned to death with a hammer so badly in the head, in the face, that they couldn't even use dental records to identify her. Yeah. Yeah, but you need to keep your weapons in the armory, right? So they, of course, were not following rules. They were not following the standard operating procedures. Matter of fact, the standard operating procedures, the true ones, um, and there is like this shadow policy, right? This shadow policy. What is written down is not their policy. That that is clear. That was very, very clear with what was going on with the COVID and the Cobra strikes. Very clear what was going on, the retaliation with that. And so the standard operating procedure is to act on the shadow procedure, you know, and that is to allow all of this drinking because they put the class 6, which is that's where you buy all the booze, right next to the barracks, y'all. If they took underage drinking seriously, they wouldn't do that. And then they say they take rape charges seriously. They don't do that. Look at Asia. You know, she had to be dead before they even took her complaints of rape seriously. So, and she died of a fentanyl laced medication. So they don't take the drug issue seriously, and you cannot give them the same benefits of the doubt as you would give our representatives, our I guess elected officials, because in the military it is not a democracy, and we are so bloated up on top. We've given them everything, okay, everything. During World War II, there were 13 million plus service members. They had only seven four-star billets. Okay, four-star generals and admirals. Um, that's what billets means. Uh, but now, with only 1.3, so a tenth of the amount of service members, so a much smaller, um, uh, a smaller military force. Yet we have 44 four-star billets. Okay, so let that sink in. We have given them everything. We have they have all kinds of equipment, all kinds of staff, all kinds of perks, all kinds of weapons, and they even have our volunteer sons and daughters at their command. At their command. Okay, this is not so with elected officials. They have to go find a sugar daddy and do their bidding. This is very different for 44 four-star generals, okay? Very different. They could get the loyalty of multitudes of their service members, and it would be very, very difficult um, to, let's say, um, because they're not voted in. With the loyalty of their service members, they could be just a beautiful military, beautiful, with honor and dignity, and into everything they talk about, they could accomplish, right? They could have Medal of Honor ethos winners, right? Medal of Honor winners, because they could teach that. But that is not what's happening. It's quite the opposite. They talk this for the public, but behind the scenes, in this shadow policy, they are destroying our military. They've hijacked it because they're serving foreign and domestic enemies of these United States, and they have taken our volunteer sons and daughters with them. And they have created an environment of a criminal syndicate, so much crime, and so the loyalty is not there. And my father absolutely noticed from day one. He kept telling me there's no esprit de corps. He was really worried that there was no esprit de corps. That means there's no loyalty to the generals and the flag officers. And so, and I have seen proof of this with the very sloppy work by the military, by the leaks, by the asymmetric warfare tactics, by the military operations. Very sloppy work. They will hire, they will pay, they will give orders, but the work is sloppy. Okay, there's no pride in it. And this is why, when you have a sharpshooter at the withdrawal, very, very chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan, and he is seeing that the enemies have a gun and they are shooting our Marines, that they're shooting people that are our allies, right? And he can take this shooter out and save multitudes of our people and our Marines. And he is not given the okay to do it. He's not given the okay. Um, something really rotten is in Denmark, right? Something really stinks. And it has to do with our stinky, very stinky demons that are in our beautiful uniforms, stinking them up with 4 stars on them. And so this is very, very clear. So today, I wanted to talk about uh, the the maps. I wanted to talk about the port of entries. I wanted to talk about, of course, what's going on the with the horses, and the reason why is because we see right now today something is going on today um, that has to do with uh, El Paso, has to do with Juarez. I think about 1,000 migrants, 1,000, and I think a lot of them are from Venezuela. They are wanting to come into the United States. They don't want to go in legally. They just want to charge over through. And the thing. This is my view. Okay, this is my view when it comes to immigrants because my mom is an immigrant. My dad comes from an immigrant family. My grandfather, who, and even till his last day, what you want and read the Psalms in German and everything, came to this country um, before World War II because if you didn't join the party, right? It's always the same thing. If you don't play along in Vanity Fair, if you didn't play along with the Dritte Reich, with Hitler's new government, um, then you didn't get a job. And so my grandfather came to the United States because he didn't want to join the Dritte Reich, the party there, the Uniparty there in Germany, before World War II. And there's a lot of discussion about why that happened and the continuation of World War One into World War Two because of the Weimar Republic, the destruction of the German money. Um, and this is how Hitler got his loyalty as he created the Reichsmark, you would say, and all of a sudden all the shops were open again. Things were stable, and he got loyalty that way. So we have to be really, really careful um, who we're loyal to. But my grandfather didn't fall for it. He came to the United States. I believe he was 19 years old, and um, and so World War II began, and he was put in a camp for 3 years. He was married by then. My dad was alive. He had an older sister, and with a lot of Japanese, they were put into a camp um, here in the United States, away from their families, with the Japanese until the end of the war. And my grandfather never really spoke uh, bad about it because he was like, well, I was a new immigrant from Germany. But so he was immigrant. My grandmother, who he married, were also Volgadeutsch. So they had immigrated over here when everything was going on with the Russian Revolution. The Germans in Russia were kicked out. Uh, just lots of history there. And then, of course, my dad went to Germany in the military and visited a cousin. And through that cousin, he met my mother. And so my mother uh, came over. Uh, her first stop in the United States was White Sands Missile Range, New Mexico. That's where I was born. My dad was a missile repairman, and I'll show you where White Sands is on this map that I'm going to show you. And so that was her very first place, and she loved it. She loved it. You know why? Because that's where she learned how to drive. She got in the car. She could drive around the desert at that time, 1964, 1965. Um, and so she really, really loved it there. I was one of the very few babies born at White Sands Missile Range because they did have a little clinic there at the time that was quickly closed down after I was born. So, and then you went to William Beaumont. So I'm very familiar with that area. I went to grade school there. But how do I feel about immigrants? I grew up bilingual. I speak German and English because I come from a immigrant family. And this is how I see immigrants. Of course, let's not forget, uh, my sons. Could you call them immigrants? They were born in Poland. We adopted them. We brought them to the United States. They were 5 and 8 years old when they were naturalized, and and then my son-in-law is South Korean, so he has a green card. But during COVID, he had to go back because, the sushi business didn't do good during COVID. Yeah. So, absolutely, I have a view on immigrants. And so, from a Christian point of view, we see immigrants as future soldiers for Christ, right? We see them as future soldiers for Christ. We see opportunity with every immigrant. Um, that's how I see. Um, the next thing is I absolutely believe that they need to come over legally, right? But that the system needs to be more fair. The system needs to be um, better, okay? Um, and but they need to come legally. And also, I think that we don't need to be stupid because we are a beautiful country, absolutely beautiful country. I haven't changed my mind on that, even though I know that right now all of our agencies are really a unit agency serving foreign and domestic enemies. Okay, we are under enemy occupation. I really believe that because our potentiality has been stifled. Our people have been robbed. We have been robbed of our technology, of our ability to do things. The school system stifles us and doesn't. Yeah, we're being groomed into a sex cult. We're being groomed into really a criminal syndicate where, you know, uh, our government is putting their tentacles into our faith, not allowing us to reach out to these new immigrants coming out as potential uh, warriors, uh, knights in shining armor for Jesus Christ. And when I say that, I should say for the Trinity, because the Trinity has been under such an attack, and I want to stress that. Um, so that's how I feel about immigrants. I just think God is awesome. I hate Darwin because I think it's so racist. I think God is so awesome and makes many, many out of one, right? Many out of one. And but I do know that we have a huge criminal population that even do not stop. They take part in child pornography and also child sex trafficking. And anytime they take part in pornography, you know that they were also abused and part of child trafficking, child pornography, child abuse, things like this. So, and that's kind of coming out in this case also. It's just a vicious cycle of crime upon crime upon crime. And in this case, it is child abuse and child sex trafficking and child sex pornography, uh, the producing of it, the selling of it, the distribution, and also the airdropping of it, um, which is the grooming. Grooming. We have a lot of grooming going on with the sex cults. Sex being like just shoved down everybody's throat. Like, they join the military. They don't join to join a sex cult. They join to defend the Constitution. They join to learn about radars or about equipment, machinery, weapons, esprit de corps, honor, integrity, selfless service, being part of a fighting force that is disciplined. That's why they join. They all know that's what they're told by the recruiter, and the recruiters are lying to them, okay? They are absolutely lying to them because our females that are being recruited in are being set up for rape. They're being put into these co ed barracks being set up for rape. And, 1 to 9, one female to 9 men. Come on. And I know what a female is. I know what a woman is. All right. I know what a woman is. I know what a male is. Um, I don't need to think it through too much if I have a definition for the genders. And I also know that it's you cannot change it. Okay, because I'm not a free will person. All right. Read Bondage of the Will by Martin Luther, and you will understand where I'm coming from. Um, we do not have a primary free will. Okay. We cannot decide. I didn't decide to be born at White Sands Missile Range. That was not my decision. I was not. Uh, it was not my decision to be born to a German immigrant, and all my grandparents are German, to a German family. That was not my decision. It was not my decision to be born with blonde hair, and I'm going to tell you, I have some experience going over to the city of Juarez, across the border from El Paso, being a very blonde child. I've always been very blonde, and I've had my hair pulled out over there. So, uh, you know, um, I know what it's like to be an oddball. That's for sure. To be called an albino and all of that stuff. So that was not my decision to be born blonde. Um, and so I don't believe in free will. I can't decide on what natural abilities or natural talents that I have. Um, that's all of that is a gift from God. So no, I don't believe in primary free will at all. And so I think that that is very clear in many of my live streams. And I think that that means that you can't just do what you want to do. Okay? You can't just do what you want to do, and you can't just be what you want to be. I think that's slapping God right in the face. Um, so that's where I'm coming from, and I know that that is odd. It's odd that I think that Darwin's theory is trash. I think that the whole germ theory is trash. I think virology is trash, is dead. Virology is dead. If you're a virologist, I feel bad for you, but you can definitely write a book on how you know that your own science that you probably spent a lot of money learning about is trash. Um, and of course, we were there at January 6th, and I've said it right from the beginning that January 6th was not what the narrative was telling us. There's much more to it, and now we're finding out that there were federal feds everywhere. That exactly explains so much why some people have been arrested, some people haven't. People with hammers have not been arrested, but yet a man that's being shepherded around and led in to the Capitol is given 4 years in prison. Um, so this is which all of that could not happen if the 44 four-star generals and the flag officers were doing their job. Okay, we're not serving foreign and domestic enemies, and they were, because the day before we were contacted by Lieutenant General Donna Martin and told not to go to January 6th. So and I call out the, I'm a homeschool mom, so I've called out the whole education system. I think that the whole Department of Education should be abolished. Um, I think the whole federal grip on education should be abolished. I think it should be much more local. Also, much more diverse answers for the diverse areas. And why do I say that? Because when we adopted the boys, they only spoke Polish. Um, so their whole education the approach to education, how to teach them quickly English, how to teach them how to read quickly. We did it in 6 months. Uh, you know, was different than how I approached teaching Hannah and Allison, who grew up also bilingual with German and English. Um, so but in a whole different sense, they always spoke English. So you just come from a different area than to an 8-year old that doesn't know how to speak English. Um, or Richard was 5. Richard was 5. So yeah, so I am a very odd person. I have a very you know, um, but people are starting to come back. They deserted us. The media deserted us. They didn't like our stance on so many things in politics. That's okay. We did not, even for the sake of finding Richard, we were unwilling to lockstep when it was going to hurt so many other people, so many others. We didn't want to participate with crimes against humanity. We didn't want to participate in anything that hurts other people, and so we just couldn't do it. We held our own, and I'm so glad I have such a great husband. We were very firm in how we were going to look for our son. That if people wanted to help us, they needed to respect our views just as we respect their views, unless they're very criminal. Unless they're very criminal. So we had a very good relationship with many that helped us. Very good relationship. Some were uh, well, let's just say they were up to no good. They were up to no good, and of course they take advantage, even sometimes of cancer patients, sometimes people that are new widows or widowers with great loss, but they also take advantage of those that are looking for a loved one, and everybody knows that, and I know that now. So we spent quite a bit of time in the El Paso area, and I wanted to go over these maps and talk about some of our leads and show you where they go, because the leads are definitely with horses, definitely with trucks with truck with shaved handles, lowrider mags. Um, Very interesting where that led to. And one of the things that was made very, very clear is that so many in this case are connected to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and that makes us also not, like you would think that the leaders of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, we call them Mormons, would be calling us and trying to help us out, right? You would think that. But anyway, that hasn't been the case. I did get 2 phone calls that I was unable to answer. So maybe, but they never called back, um, because this is really, really important, um, because of the access. They have lots of stake. They have lots of stakes. That's what they call their property, their businesses, all their investments. They call them stakes, and all through that area. So let's go to the map, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Can you see that? Okay, so you can see El Paso right there. And this is Juarez right here. Um, and if I zoom in, I will go up to White Sands. So White Sands, this little place here, is where I was born. Okay, so I know that really well. Now, that's in Donna Ana County. Here's Las Cruces. Um, all this. Hatch is a big name in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, especially in this, uh, also down into Chihuahua. And if you come up here, you reach Albuquerque. Did I miss it? No, here it is. Albuquerque is right here. So in Albuquerque, I already kind of went into Albuquerque. This here is where they have all of their horse racing. And so this is where that Farnsworth Racing sign is supposed to have come from. Have I found the ranch yet? Well, um, so this is big horse racing area. This Zia Park racetrack is right on the border of Texas and New Mexico. It's on the New Mexico side. Okay, so back to this one. Um, Coming down this way, this is the way that I was talking about. That is very interesting. Here we're still in New Mexico. Ruidoso also has is very interesting to us because it has Ruidoso Downs right here. I can zip right down into it, and you can see the racetracks right in there. Okay, so so we've had leads that led to that area. We've had leads that led to the Albuquerque area. Um, Here is the Fort Bliss. We've had a lead that led to the racetrack right here. You can see it, and you might know if you've followed me, you might be very aware of this Sunland Park racetracks here. This is where that body figure is. It's still there. Um, so I think it's way too big to be a body, but I don't know. I just have this creepy feeling about that. But there's some other racetracks because we know that horses, horse trailers, the truck have a big part to play in this. Because, of course, if you're going to traffic children, you need to be able to move them. And this is how we believe that they're doing it. So, and this is so dangerous for us, but I have to um, bring this out. Now, this is Fort Bliss here. This is Fort Bliss. We've had leads at the end of this airstrip here and here. We've had leads also. Um, we've also had leads in this huge area here um, that belongs to Fort Bliss. Belongs to, they have these little mock villages that they do, like Afghanistan village, that they do some training at. We've had leads to that. That's where Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe was looking for the remains of Richard during Christmas of 2020. And we got a phone call from a very courageous person and said, hey, did you know that Bernabe is looking for Richard's remains in this area? And so we contacted the general and asked him, are you looking for Richard's remains during Christmas in this area? And he said, yes, we were looking for him there. So because we've been told, and here's Sunland Park again, here's the racetrack. You can see it real small right there. But we've been told that Richard's body parts are in different areas, okay? Uh, um, that's why we got a lot of excitement, not by us, but we had a person call from California, uh, a paranormal, to say that Richard's head was somewhere here. I don't have the exact pinpoint. We did. She gave the exact pinpoint, that we could find his head there. That his body was in the basement of the arms room and all this stuff. Um, it was so hard to deal with, but there was a lot of excitement behind that because, um, it's like they know he's dead, but they don't know where all the body parts are. Maybe that's why they're hiding. Maybe that's why the FBI is hiding Richard's remains with us, because they can't find all the body parts. Excuse me. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know. I just know that body parts is a big play on this. Um, it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. And that horses have a play in this. When you're trafficking children for sex, it's big money, y'all. And that's why I'm saying that there needs to be a discussion for the death penalty very quickly, very serious discussion, because it is so despicable. It's growing so fast because it's so lucrative, and the way the government has treated the people. People get desperate, they get pimped out, they get abused, and so they just feel like they have nothing to lose, and they get into this criminal syndicate. It's a terrible thing. Sorry. Okay. I know this is so interesting. So then we got a FBI report. It was given to the FBI, and so let's follow this report. Here's the Mexico border, and they were saying that through here, if you follow the border, there's a port of entry called, make sure I got the right port of entry right here, um, Santa Teresa Port of Entry. So let's zoom out so you know exactly where I'm talking about. So it's right here. So here's El Paso, here's Fort Bliss, here's Juarez, but right in here is the port of entry. Oh, did I miss it? Right here. So U.S. Customs and Border Protectors. Um, so this is where we are told that Richard was brought through this port of entry here, unwillingly. Okay, he was unwilling. So can you call it kidnapping? Can you call it abduction? Um, and maybe he was dead. I don't know. And we're told, oh, how can that happen? Here's Sunland Park. Whoops. Here's all the horses. Okay. And you just go right over to this area right here, this U.S. Customs and Border Protection, and that he was taken down this road here. And, yeah. And at this junction, there's an OXO. I believe there is an OXO. Or is it further up? Make sure I know where I'm going. Here it is. This junction here. So this is the OXO. So let's zoom out and I'll do it again. So if you come up this road here, you will see the port of entry. Okay? So from the United States through this port of entry. Now, I've had a lot of people tell me, how could they get through there uh, with someone unwilling or whatever? Well, if you have connections, if you are well established there, if you know people, um, if you have Mormon friends, if you have people also in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, if you have people that are horse racers, have horses, uh, you know, uh, would they be crooked enough to let you through, to wave you through? If they know you, will they just wave you through? They know you. If you go through very often, will they wave you through? If they're part of it, would they wave you through? This is all needs to be investigated, right? Because the two temples, um, Mormon temples, are on the Mexico side, are on the Chihuahua, Mexico side. Okay, one is in the city of Juarez, the other one is in Colonial Juarez, and I'll show you that too. So yeah, it's who you know. It's who you know, and at this point, I am not crazy to say that we have corruption in our agencies. Okay, I'm not crazy. So I think anything is possible, and that needs to be looked at, especially with the information um, that we have turned in now. Um, it is really serious, and also, uh, you know, this blue truck, this Albuquerque lead, this Riodoso lead, um, things like that. It's definitely um, needs investigation, and the CID uh, case number about the child pornography, about the child trafficking with the FBI number that we just introduced about a week ago. That needs to be added to Richard's case. He's not a cold case. They want to ignore us. They don't want to pay attention. But this is a big case. This is about the border. This is about children. This is about active duty military. This is about a missing soldier. This is very, very important. And and just for the FBI to, are they, for us to have to ask, are you hiding the remains of our son? That's also crazy, absolutely crazy, but it's very, very real, very real. Okay, so here is a port of entry, and let's go down to that OXO again. Um, so the Aqua Park, there is some big water towers. So at this OXO, they turned towards the city of Juarez and drove. And it's very interesting, this drive here, because there is a boarding stables. Um, I believe it's very close in here. So we can look. There's also a an orphanage or a place where children stay, um, and that's also very interesting. So let's see, if I get close in, we can find it all. And I think all that needs to be investigated. Okay, so this is also, oh, it's been a while and I didn't look at, this is a hospital kind of thing, like a children's place. So we're really close to this stables here. I think this is the stables. I think this is the stables here for the horses. And then right down here is another place that is like a children's orphanage. Um, I don't want to point it out too much. I think it's this one. Is it this one? Anyway, um, what does it say? Oh, here it is, Inglesia. Maybe not. That's But I have a map on Find Richard Halliday that shows you this area that really needs to be investigated, because this is where our lead is leading us. And, the CID, they're just crickets. The FBI, they're just crickets. Um, so there's also a dumping ground here. Casa make sure by there's a ranch there too. All of them needs to be questioned, you know, about what horses are kept there, what's going through there, because we have really good um, questions about child trafficking and child pornography going on, and then being trafficked back up through um, this path here. So I don't know why they can't work together with Mexico. And the reason why I'm even talking about this right now, and I should have, I thought I knew all this by memory. Um, I think this, I hate to point to these areas, um, but it's all along this road here where we're getting our leads. And we just had Senator Lindsey Graham say that we needed the U.S. Army to go over into Mexico, um, because 5 Americans were kidnapped, uh, or four were kidnapped, 2 survived, 2 were killed. And what about this? What about child trafficking into the United States through Fort Bliss? What about the missing soldier, Richard Halliday? Don't they want to look through this? And we know that the FBI were over there in Mexico looking for the remains of Halliday, of our son. So I don't understand why this can't be investigated more. We don't have any after action reports. Why can't we had an after action report from Sammy from that search that we sponsored, that we raised about $6,000 for. Um, but no, that from the Army, from the task force, that has all been um, no after action report, because it never had an op ord. They never were serious about it. So I want to show you where this this is all called Chihuahua, Mexico, and this is down in Chihuahua, Mexico. Is all this area, is different stakes, lots of. It's so beautiful, y'all. It's so beautiful in this area. Um, this is Casa Grandes, and then there's a Nova Casa Grandes right here, and then there's Colonial Dublin. So all this area and Colonial Juarez, this is where the temple is. Can you believe it? This is where the temple is, in this area, and it's so beautiful. You have the ranches, um, the schools, everything. This is just amazing, amazing area. There's orchards. It's so lush. And the same thing with Casa Grandes. But the temple is down here in Colonial Juarez, okay? And this Nove um, Casa Grandes has a China Plaza. And I thought that was very interesting. Why didn't they have a USA Plaza? I don't know. Uh, and I think it's right here. Yes, here it is. This is the Chinese Plaza. Here, I could even go down to it. Let's see. Well, are they going to let me go down to it? There it is. So there it is. Uh, so very interesting. And, oh, I probably should, because I'm going to be all turned around now. Okay. So now let's go to this Colonial Juarez and see if we can drop down. It's so beautiful, y'all. So there's the top of the temple. Let's see if I can get a little closer. I think that's it. Yeah, it won't let me get closer. Oh, here. I can get closer. So here's the temple there. Um, so, and many people come from the United States and travel down to the temple. They go to the one that is in Juarez City. Of course, that would be the closest. And then they come to this one. So I think that is, um, and you can go all to this area. It is just lush. It's just beautiful. And you would think that with that kind of power, that kind of money, those kind of stakes, that they would want to help us more. Um, yeah. So I'm already a little bit turned around. Here's the United States. There's Albuquerque. So here's Sunland Park. And this is on the Mexican side along this border. And if we go down here, we will end up at the Santa Teresa port of entry. You see, that's all along there. Here it is. Here's the port of entry. Let's see if I can go down there from here. This is where a lot of investigation needs to be. Look how it's pretty wide open. Pretty wide open. Not as much traffic. A lot of trucks come through here. A lot of trucks with pulling horse trailers come through here. Uh, be very interesting to talk to some of these customs and border protectors that run this area. So yeah, I don't think that I can go too much down here. Let's see. Oh yeah, here's the OXO. So I can go to the OXO. What is that? It looks like some kind of military blocking off. Didn't that look like that? That's something. So here's the OXO that one of the leads told us about. And this would be the road going up here. And this is where Richard's body is supposed to be. I don't know. It could be at the end of the flight line there in El Paso, um, and some other different places. Um, did the FBI find the remains or some of the remains of Richard here in this area? I don't know. They're keeping it a secret. Shh, shh. Oops. Sorry about that. Let's go down here. Yeah, it looks pretty deserted. So if you're going to drop a body off, this would be, uh, this is a common place to do it. And this is our life, going through this and looking. Um, and looking around and saying, isn't that sad? It is sad because we want to find Richard. All right, if you have any questions, wait, I thought that, let's see, I need to get oriented right. Now we had boots on the ground here. Um, and we've had boots on the ground, but we need people that, oh, I'm not oriented right. I'm upside down. Um, but we need officials to do their job, and that's the problem, is we don't have those doing their job. Anthony has been also, we've gotten leads for Anthony. So we have gotten leads. There's $150,000 for incredible information leading to finding Richard. So of course people are going to try to give us some leads. Now this airport area, that's been another place that is of interest. And I'm sure it's going to be in the most unlikely places where we find Richard. That's what I was told in some vile and vulgar messages, because we were told that they used acid on him. So people will do the worst kind of things to children. They'll rape children. They'll traffic children. They'll create porn using children. They'll sell that porn. They'll distribute that porn. They'll airdrop that porn. And if they do that, then they also will do the worst things to any human being, right? If you take advantage of children. So that's really what I wanted to talk to you talk about tonight. So, if anyone has questions, let me go on here. And I will turn this off. Missing soldier, thank you so much. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you all so much. So, okay. Um, Thank you everyone for joining. And what I'll do is I'll pinpoint some of the places that I wanted to show and places of interest because I thought this was really good. I think people absolutely need to see how easy it is to traffic children across certain ports of entry. I think it would be very easy. And right now, with the way our open borders are, it's very easy. But I also wanted to let people know that I'm not anti-immigrant. Um, so that they don't misunderstand me like they did. I think they misunderstood President Trump because he was giving a clear message about economics, um, to me anyway. So and he did call out that it is a concern that you would have these major gang members. I went to school in El Paso. I know about gangs. I know what they can do. And, so you have to be smart about immigration. There are gangs out there. There are criminal syndicates. There are people up to no good. And so you need to be smart about immigration. But at the same time, keeping it open like this is keeping the human traffickers in business. It's keeping the fentanyl traffickers in business. It's keeping the child sex traffickers in business. And I think it's the failure of 44 four-star generals and admirals, these demons that are wearing our beautiful uniforms with 4 stars on it, that are working for these foreign and domestic enemies of this country, setting us up, letting us be known as a country for child sex trafficking, letting us be known for porn addicts and fentanyl addicts and all of this stuff. Um, it's their duty to defend this country, and they have betrayed us. They are treasonous. They have committed crimes against humanity. They are the worst kinds of leaders. They are the worst kinds of criminals. Absolutely the worst kind of criminal. And I've said that about General McConville. If you are working underneath him right now, he's the worst type of criminal. And I really feel sorry because you're being held hostage to this kind of ideology, this kind of crime, and being groomed into it, being trained into it, the destruction of our country. And I really feel that way. That's my experience. Anyone that has handled this case the way he has handled it is the worst type of criminal. And I know that he he committed crimes against humanity. The DOD was right behind it all. They were behind it all, funded it all with our dime, our prayers, our goodwill. They took advantage of our goodwill, and they absolutely took advantage of our volunteer sons and daughters and have really mistreated them. They have not, these generals and admirals, they have not fulfilled their duty to care for our most valuable assets. And that is why the recruiting numbers are so low. There's so many reasons why, but people understand what's going on. That we are under attack, under attack. That our DOD has been hijacked, and we need to get it back. We need to get it back. We need a Department of Defense, um, and we need to get it back. We sure don't need to use our money, that's really debt money, to fund other people's defenses, and that's what's going on right now. So God bless you, And I will be back tomorrow, God willing.